In this training video, you will learn how to set up the LiveGuard solution and operate the LiveGuard solution features within our Acusense and ColorView camera range. Okay, before I take you through the configuration, I just want to show you our products that are available for this LiveGuard solution. And you can see here, hopefully you already know about our Acusense cameras. I'm not going to talk too much about our Acusense cameras and also the ColorView cameras in this video series I'm making. This is just purely for the LiveGuard. So we will make some videos related to Acusense and ColorView very soon, which will be available in the e-learning portal. But as you can see here, we've got quite a good range of cameras in the Acusense now that have been updated for LiveGuard. Okay, so LiveGuard cameras require in the part number to have the SL, which is your sound and your light. Okay, we also have this little symbol indicating that's a LiveGuard camera. Okay, so there are some new models available now, and we now have this available in the 6 meg. I'm not quite sure if our distributors have got stock of all these yet, but if not, that will be coming soon. So this also is available in the ColorView now. It hasn't been in the past, but it is now. Okay, so if you're familiar with our ColorView cameras, you can now use the LiveGuard feature with those as well. So how does all this connect together? We use the iSeries MVR. Okay, so to get the LiveGuard feature, we need customized firmware in the iSeries MVR, and that's the current build that we need. Which is the 7th of September 21. So I'm creating this video today, which is the 15th. So that was just released today. So that's what you need. So this will work on the older MVRs and also the new ones that are coming out with the new chipsets. Okay, so on the 8 channel, the 16 channel, and also now the 32 and 64 channel. At this stage though, it's not available on the 4 channel, but that can change with an update. So just check with our support guys or check with your distributor to see if that is available, if you require it. One extra point I want to highlight as well, hopefully you've done some work with our intercoms, and we've also got this new Android indoor station available. So what's special about this compared to another indoor station is that it has the HiConnect app preloaded onto the indoor station here. So you can, whatever you can access in the HiConnect app, you can access via the Android as well. So it's a really cool feature because it can bring all your products together under the one central location. Okay, so your CCTV, intercom, and if you're using our AX Pro wireless alarm system, you can control all that from that one indoor station, which also includes a LiveGuard feature, which you'll see in a minute. So we can arm and disarm the LiveGuard functions via the Android. So this is why I just wanted to highlight that. Okay, so that gives you a good overview. Just one last point here, just remember too that, or just be mindful that all these cameras, I believe when you get them from the distributors, they'll need to have the firmware as well for LiveGuard, which won't be a problem because they're LiveGuard cameras, they come with the firmware, but that's the latest build as I'm speaking today. But anything from version 5.5.150 and above will be okay. Okay, but it's always best to upgrade to the latest firmware. So before you go to site, just make sure you've got the correct firmware on the recorder. And if you need to, then just upgrade the cameras to give you the latest features on those cameras as well. Okay, so that gives you a good overview of the products that are available. Now let's go into the configuration. Okay, so let's take you through the setup. So you can see that I have the SADP tool on my laptop here, and it's just showing all the devices on my local network. That's the recorder that I'm using to set up the LiveGuard function. So it's the 7608, so the 8 channel, and you can see that it's got the correct firmware version in there. Just be mindful too that the newer MVRs, the new 7608s and the 16 channel, they have a new chipset, and this firmware doesn't work on that new chipset. Okay, so if you're buying a machine from one of our suppliers and the build date is later than June of 2021, then this firmware does not work All right, so I didn't say that in the PowerPoint because I didn't know that at the time. So I'm just letting you know now. So just check with our supplier. We will have firmware for the new chipsets, I believe, in late September or early October. So, but just check with our supplier. We'll talk to our support guys, and we'll soon have that firmware available for the new machines and the new chipsets. Okay, so let's go through the setup of this one. So I'm just going to click on the IP address here to launch the web interface. And I will log on. Now, I've already activated this MVR and stuff, so you just do your normal thing, activate the MVR and do your configuration and stuff. I just want to show you how to set up the live guard. I've got another camera here looking at the live guard camera to show you the flashing light and stuff once I start to go through the setup. Only thing I will do is just quickly change the camera name. Make sure it's correct. So time settings is correct. And I'll go into here and just rename it to a live guard camera. Just so the name appears down there correctly. There we go. First up, I will go into my basic events, and I need to configure my strobe light and the audible output on what I want it to do. In actual fact, I've got motion off in this example, but it can be on. But I just want to show you a smart event. I need to make sure that the strobe light is doing what I want it to do. So I've got some options here: a low frequency or low flash rate to a high flash rate, or normally on is a solid light on. Okay, so I'm just going to go say medium frequency and just say stay on for 5 seconds. I mean schedule, I'm just going to leave that because I'm going to control this from my app, but I'll show you some options with this a little bit later. And now go to my audible output, and you can see default is siren, so I'm just going to say warning, this is a restricted area, and just say it's 4 times. In actual fact, it only ever says it once or twice anyway, so just be mindful of that. So just check this option here. And the volume, I'll leave that as say 80. Obviously you need to test this depending on the environment that this is in. And just make sure you're selecting the right camera too. So I've only got one camera connected to this recorder, but if I have multiple cameras, then you just need to make sure you're doing this for the correct camera. So each camera can be set up differently. Alright, so depending on what your message you want and what flash rate you want will depend on the camera and where it is. So that's set that up. What I need to do now is go into my smart event, and we'll set up a line crossing event to trigger the live guard function, and we'll go into the settings here. So you'll see here I've got max min size to set up, draw the area. Do I want targeted type, which will be either human or vehicle, so I'm just going to go human, and I also got a direction. So if I draw the area, you can see it comes up as in both directions. So I'm just going to move this line over here and just drag this up a bit higher, and I'm just going to select from A to B. Alright, I'm just going to increase that sensitivity to 80%. And what is the sensitivity? Let me just explain to you that with Paint on what that does. So I just launch my Paint application here. For example, we draw a line. So there's a line we're going to cross, and we're going to go in a particular direction, which will be say that direction there. So we have an object that moves towards this, right? So normally the system will draw a green box around the object, and what will happen is that box or object will move towards that line. Okay, so if you set a value of 80%, that means that object crosses over by 20%, which is about there, before it triggers. So if you set that value to 90%, just means that 10% of that line or that object that crosses that line will trigger the event. If you set it to the sensitivity to 10%, that means most of the object, 90% of the object, has to cross over before it triggers. Alright, so that's how that works. Intrusion is the same. It's just that instead of crossing a line, we're going into a box, but that crossover is the same. So that's what that is there. So how do we determine the size of the object? We need to adjust that through the max and min size. All right, so we click on max first, and this will depend on the scene that you're looking at. So obviously the field of view will affect the size of these boxes that you'll draw. So you need to make sure that they're correct. So how do you know? What you can do is, if I walk in front of the camera, so let me just enable this first and I'll save it. And you'll see that when I walk in front of the field of view here, I'll get a green box around me. So make sure that green box that I'm getting around me is in between those two sizes. That means I've got this ratio correct. So I'll just show you. So I've got the green box there now, and I'm just making sure that it's the correct size. Looks like it is. And that looks like it's going to be okay. So all that is good. So all my settings look to be correct here. So I'll just walk this in a minute. But before I do it, I just want to go through some other settings. We can adjust the arming schedule. Okay, it's on 24/7, so we'll control this from the app. So I don't really need to do anything here. And then linkage, you leave this as default. Don't need to do anything in here. All right. The audio and light alarm linkage is actually done from the app. Okay, so normally with a Acusense camera, you would turn these two on. Okay, and you also turn this on to push through to your app as well. But when we're using the live guard feature, we have them off. Okay, because it's controlled from the app. So if you actually turn them on, it won't work. So leave them off. The only one that's should be on is the recording of the D1, which is the D1 there. We do have some other options here. You can actually do an audible warning from the MVR and send an email out, or go full screen if you've got a monitor on the back of the MVR. You can do those, but you can't touch the notify surveillance center and these other two. All right. You can also do a trigger alarm output on the MVR and the camera as well if you wanted to. All right, so that's all good. So I'm just going to save this and walk test it, and if it's working correctly, then that green box, when I come across that line in the correct direction, will change color to red to say that it's been triggered. So I want to trigger that event first. So you saw that, so that worked. So this is the important part of it all, okay? So the live guard function is easy. You need to first set up the Acusense, the detection first, okay? Because if this part doesn't work, then the live guard feature is not going to work, all right? So I've done that. I do recommend that if you're doing vehicles as well, is to have a separate line for the vehicle. And now I'm going to go to the app, so I'm just going to show you the app. And also I'm going to show you another view, which will be a view of the camera, so you can see the light flashing. So I've just got another camera here on the system, which will allow you to see the front of that camera. So I'll just log on to it. And let's just put that there, right? So I'll walk through here, this box will go red, and this will trigger this camera to start flashing and give you the audible warning. But before I do that, I'll just talk about the app. So over here on the right hand of the screen, you can see that I've got this little symbol here. So that's your live guard symbol. If I click on the model number here, just with my finger, it takes you into the MVR like it normally would, right? So you can see your cameras. So if I go back and this time I'll click on the live guard symbol, it'll take me into the live guard section of the app, okay, which allows me to do certain functions, which I'll talk about at the moment. So by default, we have one area, okay, on the system. So area 1 is on, and as we add cameras into the system, it'll automatically add them into area 1. All right, so if you don't want that, you might have multiple areas in within a particular site, then you'll need to turn on those other areas. Okay, so think of this as like an alarm system. If you're familiar with alarm systems where you can have different areas and arm and disarm different areas, you can do that the same with the live guard cameras. So to set up another area, I click on the little set up symbol over here, and you'll see where I've got the areas here. So first up too, just make sure your notifications are enabled, okay, so that I get the push notifications coming through to the app. And it's going to go into the area, and you can see by default area 1 is on. If I go into area 1, you can see it's on by default, and the link cameras and the area name, if I want to, I can change that. So if I just I'll take this back, and I'll just make this one say backyard. You'll also notice within this area I can have it auto arm as well. Okay, so if I set on auto arm, I can set up the time in here as well, so when it's going to arm. Alright, I can also do the same for disarming as well. So you can have this automated. There's also weekend exceptions in there, because obviously you're at home on the weekends, you might want to just have different exceptions in there. So that's up to the end user, I guess, and what they want. If they want to control that by themselves, then let's show them how to do that. So I've got the backyard enabled. I'll turn on another area in a minute. I just want to show you that we're just doing one area first. And there it is there. So the backyard, and first of all, I need to tell the system what I want the cameras to do when they're triggered. Okay, so I go into my camera, and you'll see I've got the live guard one there, and you can see that I've got the flashing light is on, and the audible warning, and also stay arm bypass is on, which I'll make sure that's off. So I'll just leave those two on, and I'll go back here. And I've got some options down here now as well. So I can away mode arm it, stay mode arm it, which is home mode, disarm it, or clear the alarms. Okay, I can also arm it through here as well in the away mode. So if I click on this icon here, the system's now armed. And because under the camera, under here, when it triggers, I'll get the flashing light and the audible warning. So let's do that. So let's warp text it. Okay, so you got the flashing light there, and also that push notification comes through to the app. So that speed of the flashing light I can change in the settings, and also the message as well, don't forget. So now let's just turn that on. So I'm just going to disarm it. I'll do the same test, and you can see that we don't get that camera triggering anymore. So I'm just going to click on the icon here, and now it's disarmed. And there you go. Right, so that's how you can control it manually. This can be done from the app, or if you've got one of the Android indoor stations, you can also do the same thing off the Android indoor station as well. Let's show you the home mode, all right, or the stay mode. So I need to turn this on. So this could be a camera that when you're at home, could be in the garage or somewhere, and you don't want this camera to trigger when you walk into the garage when you're at home. All right, so you'll then turn on home mode. Okay, but you've got to tell the system that this camera is a home mode camera or stay mode camera. So you go into the camera setting, and just go stay bypass. And this time I'll click on the stay mode, and now it won't trigger. Okay, and let's now disarm that. And even though it's a stay armed camera, when I go to away mode, it'll always arm all those cameras on the system. Okay, so you get that audible message as well. And now I'll just disarm it. Alright, so you can see I've got full control from the app on all my features. I can allocate on each camera. You know, maybe some cameras you want the audible warning, and you don't want the flashing light, so you can do that. Okay, so or maybe it's the other way around. You want the flashing light, you don't want the audible warning. Some cameras can have a different flash rate. Some cameras can be hard on the light when it comes on. Other cameras can have a different audible message. All right, a custom audible message that you upload into it, and I'll show you how to do that in a minute. All right, so every camera can be tailor-made to suit the environment that it's in. So one other thing I didn't mention before, which I want to show you now, is that we have a new function inside the camera. All right, so I'm going to go back into the MVR just to show you there's one setting in here that I need to make sure is turned on to make sure this is going to work correctly. All right, so at the moment I'm in the MVR directly, so you can see by the IP address. Just wait till IE refreshes here. There we go. So if I go into the camera management page here, and I've got my virtual host on. So if you don't know about that one, just go into your network settings under advanced and other, and enable virtual host. And what that does is turn on that link over here, allowing you to browse into the camera directly. So you can see it's the same IP address as the MVR, but it's got a different port number. So I'm just going to click on that link and then log on to the camera directly. So there are some features inside the camera that are not available in the MVR GUI or the MVR web interface, and you have to log onto the camera directly to be able to set them up. That could change in the future, but this is the way it is at the moment with the current firmware versions. So I'm going to log on to the same page on the camera as the MVR. All right, so let me just adjust these pages here. My laptop might start going a bit slow if I've got too many resources happening. I'm just going to go into events and smart events, and we did line crossing before, so let's just expand this out. And I'm showing you a comparison of the two pages. All right, so there's the MVR and there's the camera, because you can see the port number on the camera, and we've got the same page. What I'm going to do is just show you the difference here. So we adjusted this one before through the MVR, okay, but one setting that we didn't have was the target validity, okay, and you can see that this is a setting that's only inside the camera. You can't access that through the MVR, so I need to browse into the camera, which we did, and set this to the highest level. Okay, just wait for my browser to catch up, and that's how it should be set up. So you do that, you save it, and then those other settings won't adjust, okay, because they're related to the actual line crossing event itself. So we just save that setting in the camera, and that's that. I've just expanded out that camera page and closed off the MVR page just to make my resources a bit better on my laptop. But that's the setting there, so just don't forget that one. One other feature I'll show you here as well is how to do the custom audio while I'm in this camera. And if I go into my basic events and go into the audible output, and I've got sound type options here. So here I go custom audio, and then what I do now is I go add, and it's going to ask you to browse to the audible or the audio file. Okay, so you create your own WAV file. So that could just be a recording that you do on your iPhone or something. So just make a recording, save that as a WAV file, put it onto your desktop on your laptop, and then browse to it and upload it into the camera. Okay, so each camera can have its own audible message as well, so it could be unique to where the camera is positioned on the property. So that's it. They're the two settings that you need to do within inside the camera. So I'll just log out of that. One more feature, I will show you how to create a second area. Okay, so before we only just had the one area, let's do the second area on the app now. So I'll just bring up the app again. So I've just got the app open here only now. So before I set up the one area, which is default, and I'll just change the name to backyard, right? So if you want to create another area within the property, you click on the icon up there, go to your areas, and then enable your second area. And then link cameras. So it's going to ask you to select what cameras you want in that area. So then you're going to go plus, and then you link the cameras that you want. Okay, so you can have, well, this is an 8-channel NVR, up to 8 channels in one area, but generally if you've got 2 areas, you might have 6 in one and 2 in another area, so it just depends on the site. Don't forget they have to be the LiveGuard models. All right, so there is the new LiveGuard option for the color view, so we can do the Acusense and the color view cameras. Other normal cameras won't be able to do that. Okay, so they'll actually tell you that you can't select them anyway. So that's how you create an area and then link the cameras. And don't forget, make sure you select or create an area name. So this one could be garage. And then we can also then do the auto arm and disarm if you want to for that garage area. So if you go back to the front, you'll see now I've got the 2 areas. Okay, so if you want to arm and disarm each area individually, then you need to click on that icon. So disarm down here. If you want to arm both areas at the same time, then I'll need to click on the area. So this one down here is common for all areas. If you want individual areas, you need to go to the particular area itself and click on the option. Okay, so that gives you a good overview on the LiveGuard feature. I've added this extra section on to the end of this module because I feel like this is an important point to mention about the NVR recording and how it records the events. Although it's not a LiveGuard function, it's a function of the NVR, and having the ability to be able to search on the events that you're saving for line crossing intrusion is an important point to mention. Now, you know that before that we set up the line crossing to trigger, that's a smart event, okay, and there's other types of smart events. So basic events like motion is a motion event, okay, and it can be set up to record differently. So if you look at the recording schedule, at the moment it's set up for event recording, which is that purple color. By default on the NVRs, they're set up for motion, so it's all green. Okay, so that means when it's all green, it's only going to record the motion event. So if you wanted to record the line crossing or intrusion event with the motion, then it needs to be this purple color. Okay, so that gives you the capability of when you're searching to be able to search on line crossing and intrusion, okay, and find that recorded footage. Okay, if you have this set up, the blue color, which is continuous, it'll do continuous recording plus motion, but you won't get the events recorded on there. All right, so it's important to understand that fact on how you want this to record. Okay, so it's going to give you the ability to be able to search later on, okay, when you need to find those particular events that you set up in your smart event schedule. Make sure you set up your record schedule to suit and to cater for that.